So we're going to look at the ways of outlining and offsetting sketches and the problems that you may come into and how to solve those problems. We're going to start in the sketcher, and I'm going to create first of all a closed non-bspline shape. To do that, I'm going to create a new sketch, and I'm just going to use the XY plane for the time being. In here I'm going to create some standard geometry. So we're going to have a couple of slots, and I may place, escape that, and may place some trims in here. So I'm going to bring this over and trim out these two. So these are standard geometry. We're going to keep away from the B-spline for a moment. We're going to come to that in a minute. And let's say let's place a box down here, something like this. Not worried about constraints. If I was there constraining it, then you'll be here for quite a long time where I start constraining this down to be fully constrained. So I'm just going to trim this down, just trimming away the geometry so it's all part of one geometry. And we're just going to get rid of these bits inside. So I've got this shape here, and I want to create the same shape and outline against this. Well, it's going to take me a while to actually sketch inside this, and there is outline tools available, and we've got this shape here. So how do I outline this? Well, go to sketch, you can see we've got tools here, but we can't see anything within here. We've got copy, clone, symmetrical, move, etc, etc. The tool that you want is over in a different workbench. So it's actually over in the part workbench, and it's this tool here. It's the utility to offset planar shapes. You can come in, it may actually be, when you come into the part, you may just see this icon here, but it's also available on part, 2D and 3D offset. Now to use it, we select our sketch and we come in to part, 2D offset, and you can see we've got an outline that's happening here. So we can send it outwards. So I'm going to send it outward by 6, and we'll create this outline that goes around here. See, some of these edges are curved here, and that's because we've got this arc on. Set this to tangent. That actually set those sharp edges there, which has been done by the square, as a tangent. So a tangent means touching, and those will be touching there. Also, we've got intersection, which means they'll take this line and grow them until they meet. And of course, you won't see any difference with a square because those lines do intersect, like so. There's other modes here which are more related to, as you can see there's an arrow come up here, more related to the objects in the part rather than the objects in sketching. We can send it inwards as well, but we have to be careful here. If we do -6, send this inwards, you can see the intersection working here. They are growing to meet. And if we send it to tangent, well, they're touching anyway. Arc, it's just rounded that off there. You can see where that's rounded that off. But if we do this too far, then we start to get breaks. So for instance, if I did 16, 26, this geometry, it's not actually doing that at the moment. This geometry may start to break. You can see we've got problems here that it's actually broken into 2 here. And if I did tangent or intersection there, you can see we've got problems. Skin, there's even more problems there. So I'm going to just change that back to pipe and change it to arc. So we have to be careful when we go inwards. When it gets to going inwards this far, then we're changing the actual properties of the geometry anyway. We're changing its shape. It's gone into a different form here. So if you're looking to grow inwards, then it might be best to do a smaller shape and then grow that outwards from there. We've also got fill offset, which actually fills that as a face. If I roll over it, you can see 2, or down the bottom it's saying offset 2D dot face 1. So that creates a face there. And we can OK that to actually get the face on there. I'm just going to set this something like 6, going outwards, and I'm going to use the tangent because I want to maintain the squareness of these lines down the bottom. Click OK. Now say if I wanted to edit these lines that run around the outside. How would I do that? Well, to do that we need to come over to the draft workbench. Now on the draft workbench you will also see a tool for an offset in here, which is this one here, offset of selected object. So you've got that one there, but it works in a different way. They're two different, totally two different tools there. We'll have a look at that one in a moment. One that I want to look at is this one here. Convert by direction between draft objects and sketches, also available on modifications and draft to sketch. So we've got our 2D offset, and what we're going to do is actually take that offset, that 2D offset, and convert it into a sketch so we can edit it. So I go out to modifications and draft to sketch. We get this sketch here, double click on it. You can see now we've got a sketch that we can edit. Obviously our constraints won't come across because we've got converted to an offset and then we're converting back to a sketch. We've got a nice sketch there that we can edit. We've still got parts of this coming through, and that's because we haven't actually come in and hidden that offset. So we can modify that, add constraints to it, etc, etc. Let's look how to actually combine that sketch with the other one. So I'm going to come out of here, click close, and come into this offset which I've just hidden by pressing the spacebar, and click on the sketch. Then I'm going to use the control click on the other sketch, but first of all I must come down to the sketcher, and there's an option on here called merge sketches. It's grayed out at the moment because we haven't got two sketches selected. So select the sketch, select the other sketch, and come out to sketch and merge sketches. It won't remove those two sketches. What it'll actually do is create a new sketch there, and we've got these two that is being created from. We can get rid of this offset. We can get rid of the original sketch and the other sketch because this has no reliance on the other two sketches. And now if I double click on it, we have got an offset in here of that sketch, our original sketch, and offset from that sketch, fully editable. We can constrain it and do what we like with that. This is also possible with single open sketches, and when I say single open sketches, I'm going to click on that one, press spacebar, just get rid of it. I'm just going to create a sketch in here, XY plane, okay, and we're going to create a arc. So I'm going to go from here to here and create a simple arc like so. So that's an open sketch. It's not closed. It's not coming around to here and closing up. It's an open sketch. And we can come into the path again and create an offset against that. This one here, utility to offset. Bring this down to the offset. And something like 10. Again, we can use the minus to go inwards. So -2, you can see that's going inwards. Then we go down here. Click OK. We've got those two offset there. We can use those with extrudes if we so desire, and OK that. Saying no shape selected, so we've got to select the shape. And we've got our offset, we can select and control select the other shape as well. Hit OK, and those will offset like so. So we've got two shapes that have been offsetted against each other. You've probably seen the 3D one in there. We click on that and you got a 3D offset there. And we can offset that. And so it's saying like 50. 10 and fill the offset, and that's filled that offset against those two and made an arc. So we've got 2D and 3D against those two, but we're just looking at the 2D offset at the moment. So let's get rid of our extrudes. That extrude, yep, let's get rid of that and that offset, and bring back those two sketches. Well, that's a single sketch and the original, which is there. Double click the offset and we can modify this if we so desire. And we've got those there. So let's offset both of those there. Again, you can convert this over in the draft workbench and convert that one to a sketch. And we double click on that and you can see we've got our editable arc there. Close that. Those all run with the geometry in the sketcher. So slots, polygons, squares, polyline, etc. When we come to the B-spline, it's a different matter, and problems can occur with that one if you want to edit it. So doing the offset and all that is absolutely fine. We can offset that, no problems at all. When we come to converting it bidirectionally between sketch and the actual wire there, then things tend to break down, and I can demonstrate that. So I'm going to get rid of all these and create a sketch and XY plane, and we're going to do a B-spline like so. B-splines can be problematic not just in FreeCAD but in other CAD programs as well, because they're quite mathematical intense. So we've got our B-spline, and again we can come over to the part and we can do the offset against there. So the 2D offset. So absolutely fine. You can see we've got breakdown at the top. So let's change this to tangent. We've got problems here. Change it to skin. You can see we start getting into issues. And let's just set that to 1 and change it back to arc, back to pipe. And it's this point here. You can see because it's quite a straight there. And we're starting straight away, you can see the problems that we're having in that. No matter what we try, we have issues there. So I can close this if I so desire with other tools. If I hit OK and I wanted to close that, then I would use something like the Curves Workbench, which has a number of tools in here. The curves extend and the join curves, etc., etc. And I can come in and close these. So I can take these two here, and I could even use a blend tool against those, blend curves between two edges. This workbench, by the way, is not available as default with FreeCAD. You have to install it, so you just use the Tools Add-on Manager and install it from there. It's called Curves Workbench, and you can install it from there. So there you can see I've created an edge there by using the blend curve, and in the blend curve there's continuity. So for instance, if I want it straight, I can use the C0 and continuity on this side as C0, and you can see I've created a straight line across there, and we can affect that from the scaling, changing the continuity, and other factors in here. I go into this in another tutorial, my Curves Workbench series, which is coming up quite shortly actually. I'm going to be using the curves, the blend curves in there, and going through a tutorial on that because it's quite a useful tool. But the continuity there is the continuity on this edge and this edge. So it's the connection between these edges, and we can repair things like this and then take these and combine them together, so upgrade them. So I can go into the Drafts Workbench, and after I've fixed that, those two there, take these two and use the upgrade on there. If I'm not happy with the size of this, I can come into the offset and just increase this size. So let's increase it by 5, like so. Hit OK. You can see And we need to sort the blend tool as well because that's disappeared. And just delete that blend tool. Come back into the curves workbench and then click one, click the other, and just use the blend curve between two edges there. And come down, change the continuity. Always start from C0 and looking up the other edge, C0, so we've got that straight now, and then we can change these to something like G1 and then change the scaling, the scale factor, and what will happen is you can move that into position like so and just play with the curve between those to actually fix that like so. So we've got a nice bit of distance between those two. So what do we do? How do we get this to a sketch? Well, we need to come into the draft workbench and we need to combine these together. So we take these two. First of all, come up to the upgrade and downgrade, which upgrades the selected objects into a more complex shape. Also available in modifications, upgrade. You see we've got a single wire now. It's got rid of our original curve and the offset is still there, which is there, but we've just upgraded that there. So we've got that there, and then we can convert that, come in here, convert bidirectionally between draft object and sketches. So we can use that there. And sometimes this will work and sometimes it won't. As you can see, it hasn't worked here and it hasn't created a sketch for us. We've got nothing in this sketch and we did have an error that came up. So we have to be wary of this, that if we're using B-splines we actually approach certain problems. Sometimes these can be fixed and the curves workbench allows you to fix these. So if we go into closing that and coming back into the curves workbench, we're going to work on this wire. So we converted it to a wire. We could actually bring this back out, go back to the offset and the join curve, sorry, the blend curve there, and sort those out, but I've gone back to the wire. I'm going to click on that sketch which actually failed. Just going to get rid of that. And I'm going to come in and click on this sketch, the internal sketch, which is inside the offset. Press the spacebar and make that invisible. So we've got this wire now. And I'm going to use the join curve against that. So we've joined that into one single curve, like so. If I try to convert this to a sketch, coming over to the draft, and then convert to a sketch, go in there, we've actually got further. We've actually got the sketch in there, but you can see the control points is just a single point here, which, you know, I'm trying to move this. I can move it this way. I can't move that control point because we've got problems there. Let's close that and get rid of that join curve. So we've still got the sketch sitting there. Let's get rid of that, and we want the original wire. That's what we originally want. So we've got this wire here. Let's go back to the curves workbench and let's explore a bit further. So we tried doing that, and the join curve kind of worked. Let's try the split curve now. So what's happened there is that it split it, and we've got the vertices preserved from that wire. Jump over to the draft workbench and see what happens this time. So click on the split curve, come in and convert bidirectionally between drafts and sketches. Again, we get a problem. So straight away we've got this problem, and come in, we've got nothing in there. So we've hit an issue. So you can see how hard it is to, just getting rid of that split curve, to convert B-spline objects to sketches when they've been offset. and it doesn't convert it into a B-spline that FreeCAD can deal with all the control points, etc. on there. We can get so far by coming into the curves workbench and then using that wire and converting it to a join curves, and then using that join curve by clicking it on the actual screen and converting it back into a split curve. So we've got a vertex there. Now sometimes this can make a difference, so I can click on the split curve and convert it to a sketch. We didn't have any errors come up, and we look at it and we've now got this point here, which we move it out, you can see you still got problems with it, but we have some editable ability with this. We can move it and we can move this, but we still have some problems even if we come in and let's just get rid of that sketch, come into the split and increased the values. Let's add a few more in here, something like 23%, 50% and 75%. So those will create vertices around there and actually split that curve into additional edges. So we've got that there. And we've got our draft. Convert it to a sketch. And we've got some more vertices to play with, but we still haven't got the same thing as what we had when we had the original sketch. Got more pliability over it, but the original sketch, come back to the original sketch, you can see we've got these nice node manipulators here to manipulate the curvature. This is all to do with that whole conversion back to a B-spline. And you'll find this with SVGs, importing SVGs, you'll have these curves in there and trying to manipulate those curves. Sometimes it's just best to retrace those. But if you're not looking to convert back to a sketch and you just want to do that offset, then that is sufficient enough with the B-spline. And also you've got the curves workbench tools to repair gaps in here if you so desire. But that's up to you if you want to use those. Looking at the other tools to offset, we're going to go back to a normal sketch. So I'm just going to create a normal sketch. It's going to kill that offset. Let's get rid of that. And let's create a sketch again. Some simple geometry, XY plane, okay that. And we'll just create something simple again with a trim in between so it's not exactly the same geometry. Trim those two out of the way and those there. So we've got this shape here. So we looked at the offset in the parts by clicking on the sketch and using the offset there and sending it outwards or inwards. So we got that one there, let's cancel that. We've also got the draft offset, which you saw is very similar icon there. And we click the sketch and we can try to offset this outwards, and that has some interesting effects. As you can see, we've got some broken lines here that have overlapped each other. So sometimes, you know, this one could be used in the drafting, but when it comes to stuff like sketching, then that tends to break down. Let's get rid of that. And also it's not very good with the B-splines either. It tends to not work at all on the B-splines. If we get rid of these and just come back to something like a plane. So there we go, this is plane here. Let's give it some dimension, something like 50. And create that plane. So create that plane here. We've still got the gridding shown from the draft. Let's go into the draft and get rid of that gridding. There we go. So I've got this plane here back in the part, and we can use a 2D offset against that plane. So this 2D offset here. You can see what's happened there. And if I increase this offset, you can see it increasing. So this offsets faces as well. So we've got a plane there and we've offset the face. It may look a bit weird because our original plane is lying over the top of here. And again, we've got the tangent to make sure those are square. Also the intersection, which is going to be anyway because these will follow this way and connect up. And we've got the skin and the pipe, and we can send it minus value as well. Okay, that. And inside here, obviously the plane doesn't disappear. You can see we've gone inwards there, and we can change that offset if we so desire. So I'm going to go outwards, and we'll have the arcs around the side there, like so. So there's a 2D plane with an offset there, so you can actually grow your shapes in there. So another thing I want to show you is that in the part workbench, if we create shapes in there or shapes from anywhere, we can actually use the offset from there as well. So I'm going to create this box here, and I'm going to extract some of these faces. So I want a couple of these faces off of here. So I want two faces that sit together. So say these two or these two. So I'm going to extract out those two faces. I'm going to use the cursor workbench again for this. I'm going to click on those two faces and use the extract a subshape. So I've pulled out box face 4 and box face 1. So we've got the two faces there. What we can also do, if you don't want to use the cursor workbench, we can come over to the draft, and if I just delete these and bring back the cube by pressing spacebar to hide or show the cube, in this case showing it, we can click on the cube and use the upgrade or downgrade. So I'm going to downgrade this. That'll downgrade it into a number of faces. So you can see these faces here, and we can select which ones we want to keep and which ones we want to delete, etc. So I'm just deleting those faces from there. I've got another one around this side as well. They've got the two faces there, and we can actually use these faces with the offset. And come back to the part and click on the two faces, and you can see that the utility offset, the actual shapes, is not available. It's grayed out. You have to make these a compound, so you have to join them together, and that can be done by part, compound, and make compound, or there's a little icon here that says compound tools. Click on that, and that will compound that object together. So that means if I click on it, you can see those two faces there. You can see the offset has been made available. We can click on that, and we can get the offset here. We can also send it inwards, like so, and further. And okay that. So we've got that offset and that original face in there, so you can see that compound is sitting there. And we can do operations on here, so compound is sitting there and the offset is sitting there. So we can select the compound, control select the offset, and do such things as make a cut, and we can create like a frame that goes around there quite easily. So you can see the offset tool is quite useful for a number of different operations, not just for sketches, also in the part as well. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to my site, and also I have a Ko-Fi site where you can actually donate a few pence or a few pounds, dollars, or whatever your currency is, and that's at ko-fi.com/mang0, and there you'll be able to help me fund my site, and all the money that I actually get from any funds will actually get pushed back into the channel. Thanks a lot for watching and subscribing. I'll see you next time.